online shopping was never anything. I used to do that regularly. I preferred the experience of going to a physical store, both for the humanizing aspect of it and the security it provided before the incident happened. I had only ever bought 3 items from the Facebook Marketplace, and they were all from one of my friend Mark. That one time I was bored enough to browse it. Happened also to be the same time a person called Stephanie had uploaded a brand new PlayStation listing it as free. Obviously, I was suspicious at first. I had a look at all the photos and put them through a web scanner, only to find that they were genuine. I then took a couple of screenshots and zoomed in, trying to locate what was wrong with it. It was perfectly fine. I had a look over at my old Xbox 360 and decided that there wasn't really any reason not to go for it. It had only just been uploaded and it said it was something like 30 minutes away without hesitating. I messaged Stephanie asking if I could come and collect it, and if she didn't mind me asking why did she make it free, she replied almost instantly and told me I could come to collect it straight away, which was a little odd considering it was 10 or at night, but also that she made it free to get rid of it as quickly as possible. It was her boyfriend's and she was sick of him always playing on it. I was a little worried that if I took it, the boyfriend would beat the living crap out of me, but she reassured me that he was away for the whole week at work and that she'd delete our messages as soon as we were done with the transaction. Not particularly wanting to give up the opportunity, I agreed, put on my shoes, and left the house. I then climbed inside my truck, switched the ignition on, and I was off down the road with a short half-hour journey standing between myself and the PlayStation, or so I thought. Once I got closer, I noticed several strange things about the location on the road leading up to the address that Stephanie gave me. There were rows upon rows of abandoned houses, all overgrown and filled to the brim with boarded-up windows and fractured roofs. The road itself wasn't any better. There was a pothole at least every other minute, and the lack of any streetlights made it all the worse. Just a couple minutes later, not having seen a single other inhabited house, I finally arrived at the address given. There was one singular light barely visible. It was high on the second floor and looked like some kind of reading light. Just as I finished parking up, I left my car right on the curb, just in case anything dodgy happened. Looking back, I'm not all that sure why I even dared to get out of my car. The area was devoid of all human life, so what was with this person? Why were they still living there? The place was a bloody ghost town, breathing in large gusts of air. I moved away from my truck and walked up the stone path towards the front door. This house wasn't all that better than the others. The windows were just about made of glass, aside from a patchwork of cardboard boxes filling all the cracks and fractures in the panes. Finally, I reached the door before I could even move my hand away. The door swung open, there was nobody on the other side. All of a sudden, I heard a ping coming from my phone. It was a message from Stephanie. Come in. I'm waiting in the kitchen. I peered inside. I could see a faint light coming from around the corner, but that didn't change the fact that the door had just swung open on its own. I felt my body beginning to shake a little. Fear was creeping up my spine. Another ping, get inside quickly. I put the phone back in my pocket. Hell no, not worth it, I thought. Why won't you join me, Harrison? Just as I turned my back, I felt the rippling sensation of terror crackle into my stomach. I just wanted a friend, that's all. I began to slowly turn my head as my eyes rotated. I began making out a figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman. I think she had long matted hair, dirt, and musk, solidifying it like a lump of clay. Her skin was a miserable pasty, white, and her emotionless smile presented her rotten teeth. I could smell her breath too, and it must have been some kind of living corpse, but finally as my head finished turning, I saw her hand. It was gripped tightly around a kitchen knife. Come now. The instant the words left her mouth, she broke into a sprint. The knife raised high above her head as she charged towards me. At last I came to my senses, and in the flash of a moment I leaped back inside my car, locked the doors, just as she started stabbing and scraping at the windows. Turned the car on and slammed my foot onto the gas as I drove off. I checked my rearview mirror. She was just standing there, trembling. Another figure then emerged from the house and coaxed her back inside. I put in a police report for it, and the next day they replied that the place in question is a Dura town, the area is heavily restricted, and I am lucky to have gotten out. The town is practically a den of criminals, so whoever I saw, they didn't live there, and they certainly weren't trying to give me a PlayStation. They must have wanted to take something from me, and I cherish my life now that they almost took it. I always suspected that those off-brand Amazon online stores were sketchy. The Facebook Marketplace was by far one of the worst, second only to the infamous Craigslist. Yet there I was uploading my first item, my old car. I had been looking to sell it for months. I kept having people come to look at it, but after seeing how it was in its sorry state, there was never a buyer. After a massive bonus from work a few months prior, I decided it was time to upgrade from the first car I ever received. I got the D thing when I was 17. The job bonus came when I turned 26. 9 years the car was dirt cheap, when my father got it for me, and it only went further down in value sense. That's why my friends kept on telling me to sell it on the Facebook marketplace. Old crap like that just wouldn't sell anywhere. They said I listed it for $1,500. That was $500 less than what my father spent on it, which I thought was pretty fair, considering the decrease in value over the years. I didn't really have any offers for the first few days, just a couple of bots here. And they're sending me links to Instagram groups, etc. Nothing out of the ordinary. That was until the third day in, when I finally received my first human customer. They messaged with an offer of $50. I think I actually laughed up loud upon reading it. The offer was barely just 5% of the price I offered. I decided not to respond after that. The guy continued messaging me once every hour on exactly the same minute each time I refused to respond, and after around 2 days he began sending me death threats. I blocked him, yet I still didn't have a buyer. Just a few hours after I blocked him, I was pleased to see a new message come up on my feed. It was a guy called Adam. He was ready to pay full price with the condition that he could see it in person before the purchase. I agreed. And we met up the following day in one of the town's car parks. It was freezing cold that night in the middle of winter. I was sat shivering away, begging for a dam to hurry up so I could get out of the cold. Just as I went to message him, I saw a white van pulling up and seated the car park for some reason. It felt strange seeing it. I felt a kick in my gut. It was warning me of something. I looked back down at my phone, seeing Adam had sent a message. Get out of the car and move away. Slowly, you call the police and we'll ram you. My heart froze as I started tilting my head upwards. I saw a group of men beginning to leap out the side of the van, their faces covered with ski masks and so on. Sitting in the front seat was a far older looking man. He had 2 gray locks of hair drooling down from his scalp. His teeth were aged and rotten, thick slabs of yellow filling his gums. Worst of all was his horrible stare. It felt ravenous, like being glared at by a vulture. I had little a choice. I checked to see if they were holding guns, but their hands were clean. I was going to go for it. Instantly, I slammed my foot down onto the gas and aimed the car to shoot off out of the exit. It did mean having to go through the crowd of masked men, but it was their problem if they didn't step out of the way. As I charged, I saw Adam starting to laugh at me, his finger waggling around, darting in my direction. All of a sudden, the van's headlights lit up, and he began racing towards me. I had no time to react. He slammed into the back of me, sending my car spiraling into one of the metal barriers. I smelt smoke beginning to rise up from the engine, leaving me with one last resort to get out. As I fell onto the floor next to my car, I saw the shadow of a figure approaching me. I then looked over and saw that the van's door was open and the dent on the front was just a small denture compared to my smoking car, which should have taken the $50. The voice above me said my eyes widened in realization that it was the guy I blocked for the harassment. As I began tilting my head to look at him, I saw a leg hurling through the air beside me, slamming into the side of my skull with 10 times the force needed to knock me out. I woke up the next morning, my head spinning. My car was gone, and as I felt for my pockets, so were my phone wallet and house keys. Since then, I changed the locks on my house, seeing they hadn't yet broken in, probably because they didn't know the location. I saw that over $250 had been spent on my car, and my phone was almost broken into, but luckily locked them out after too many attempts. Regardless, the blackened bruise on my head and losing my first car devastated me. I felt so weak, helpless, I told the police. But they weren't able to find the culprits, even with Adam's Facebook account that I gave them. It was a lost cause. Ever since, I have refused to even look on the Facebook marketplace. It wasn't a marketplace at all, it is a trap, and I was snared. Who was in the car. She saw the message and then waited. Just as I looked back up, I saw 2 large men getting out of the car and then rushing over to either side of my door. Both were wearing ski masks. I had to hold myself back from panicking, as when I looked down again, I saw she replied again, "Yeah, I just got here. You can bring it out. LOL, didn't realize you were home." I tried calling her, but she rejected it suddenly. I thought this could have been a prank, and it was actually my old group of friends in the ski masks. One of them, who was still close with Sarah, was called Jess. I give her a call too while staring at the men in ski masks. I heard Jess pick up the other end of the call. "Oh my God, is that Nick?" "God, it's been forever. It's great to hear your voice too, Jess. Just before anything, Sarah was with you. I could hear glasses clinking together in the background and even the faint noise of music. She was at a club." "Hey Sarah, it's Nick." My heart sank. My entire body suddenly surged with adrenaline as I saw a second message ping from the other Sarah AO. "Where are you, man?" "I'm waiting." I immediately told Jess and Sarah that her account had been used for a catfish. I asked them if they knew anyone who might have done it. They told me they did not know and that I needed to call the police. I thanked them and told them I'd call again later if I survived. I then hopped onto a call with the police and quickly told them that a group of masked men were outside my door and that they looked dangerous. Around 5 minutes later, I heard the faint sound of police sirens booming in the background. The masked men rapidly leaked back into their car and I saw yet another message from Sarah. "You got lucky. You little we know where you live, so if I ever catch you talking to one of my girls again, I'll smash through your bedroom window and gut you right there on your bed." The black car then screeched away from the curb and bolted down the street. I sat there in my car panting. The police soon arrived and I told them everything. I knew they went off and searched for the car, only to find it dumped on the side of the freeway, the passengers and driver all gone. Even to this day, I have no clue who those men even were. I hadn't tried talking to a girl like that in years, so maybe he got the wrong guy. Or maybe there was some other reason. What made it far worse is that I had completely forgotten to give him my address. So how did he know where I lived? I bought a shotgun the next week. I'd like to see them gut me. I won't ever have to hide again.